You see, this self-contraction, another name for the self-contraction is ego, but ego's got there's many interpretations of the word ego. There's only one interpretation that I am happy to use, which I wish to share. Ego is the doing of an activity. Ego is not the result of anything. Ego is this activity, the self-contraction. Everyone is doing the self-contraction. Everyone's life is based on this self-contraction, this activity which is not necessary. At the root of all differences, at the root of all points of view, at the root of doubt, unhappiness, suffering, anxiety, tension, consolation, wanting to be stimulated, seeking for happiness, at the root of getting up in the morning, at the root of going outside. This self-contraction is the motivation. It is, if you like, the devil. It is not good because it creates a life of discontent, of anxiety, of difference, of competition, of aggression, of war, of alienation, of feeling lonely, of fear, of anger. The self-contraction is at the root of what you call your life. The self-contraction is at the root of what you call me and you. When there is no self-contraction, the open hand is the best analogy I can use. Then there is only love, peace, joy, delight, happiness, if you like, heaven on earth. The self-contraction is not necessary. The self-contraction, this pinch, is at the root of all pain, of all horribleness, of all wars. Every individual living from that disposition of the self-contraction is at war with other individuals. You want your way. You go to a shop, you want this, that, and the other. And you put it into your basket or your trolley, and it becomes yours immediately. Woe betide someone if they go into your basket, even if you've not paid for it. That's an example of how we live. Look at the wars while driving on the roads. Everyone is aggressive to everyone else. Even though it may not seem to be, but you are. You want your way. You want to get from A to B. Everyone is living from the disposition of the self-contraction, which makes a very complicated life. The self-contraction has not been understood. For thousands of years, people have been enacting this self-contraction. Millions and millions and billions of people are living from the self-contraction. And that self-contraction is what is known as sin in some traditions. Sin is not a result. It is the activity of doing the self-contraction. When I clench my fist very hard, there's a pain. The fingers, there's a pain. The fingers go white. There's a discoloration. If I pinch my skin, there's an effect. It's that effect that everyone is dramatizing. You feel anger, you dramatize it. You feel guilt, you dramatize it. You feel anxious, you dramatize it. You feel ill at ease, you dramatize it. All these feelings are the result of doing this activity, which is not necessary. There's no clenched fist. The natural disposition of the hand is open. That's not natural. You don't go holding your fist, clenching your hand all day long. You don't. But there is this tension that people are doing. They're holding on to themselves. Everyone is living in fear of one another, because it's the self-contraction that creates the other. There is no other. There is no me and you. There is no separation. The self-contraction, once understood, once you feel that you are doing this self-contraction, once you've realized that the results of the self-contraction are horrible, are not good, then you might like to stop doing the self-contraction and live a more simple, harmonious, peaceful, joyful life. You see, the disposition of the open hand is beautiful. The open hand becomes a vessel, a servant. It's of use. Going around all day long like a clenched fist, the only use a clenched fist has is that. There's nothing. The open hand can embrace everything. It embraces automatically the book. It embraces the wool, the jumper, the trousers, the hair, the face, the mouth, the saliva, the teeth. The open hand is a natural embracement. Or it's what it is. The disposition of the body-mind is naturally, inherently, always already the case. Happy, for capital H. The disposition, we're talking about a disposition, the state, the natural state of the body-mind is already at rest, already peaceful, already joy, already okay. There's a stillness. The open hand is already still. The open hand is not an activity. The open hand is already ready to embrace. The open hand doesn't have to manufacture its ability to embrace. It is already an embracement. Water is already wet. Fire is already hot. The clenched fist disposition is not conducive to living a life of real intimacy and happiness. So all these people, thousands right now, thousands and thousands of people are being counselled. They go to a counsellor or to a therapist. Oh, poor me, I've had this, with the hope of understanding themselves. And they go back to their childhood and their to parents and what happened when they were 5 years old at school, and the teacher said this. I can do that too. I got upset. You see, only the self-contraction the self-contraction creates upset. We've all heard the phrase, stop screwing yourself up. It's so obvious when we see people screwing themselves up. But do you see yourself screwing yourself up in subtle ways? It's easy to see the more obvious ways of screwing yourself up. When people have a temper tantrum, it comes from screwing themselves up. The self-contraction is not necessary. Now, I was in the gym yesterday and I witnessed this lady, and she got annoyed. She was doing some weightlifting, and she remained like that for a short time. Then suddenly because she was working with a friend, suddenly she blossomed again. See, that's a lovely word. When we are not contracted, we're blossoming. We are already in relationship. We are already happy with one another. Then I don't need you to make me happy, you see. So I'm not emotionally blackmailing you. I'm not rubbing your back so that you can rub my back. I'm already happy. Religions and beliefs and cultures, they're all there to try and, to keep order, to prevent war, which is good, of course, in some respects. But it's all based on the self-contraction. We're trying to keep everyone in place. Everyone likes everyone else to be set in concrete. Everyone likes to know, they've got an image. And if that image is disturbed or changed, it's unsettling. We all have images of ourselves which we wish to portray. So when we are already happy, we are simply already happy. All that nonsense, all that history is no longer. It's not real. People say it's an illusion, but it feels real. The clouds look real, but they're not. They come and go. There's no cloud that stays like it is right now in this second for another second. It changes, like the waves. There aren't any waves, really. It's just a distortion of the water. It's just a different shape of water, as it were, created by various, the weather, the wind, a disturbance. The boat disturbs the water. So it creates a wave. And we identify with these waves. We identify with these. How are you today? Oh. How are you today? Oh, I'm fine today. Yeah, very excited. Oh, yeah. And when you live like the open hand, when you are in that disposition, you're full of energy. You're full of brightness and joy. It's because you're not doing the self-contraction. This self-contraction, this activity of the self-contraction must be understood. And then you'll realize that nothing really makes you happy. Apparently it makes you happy. Nothing makes us happy. Nothing. You think it's the ice cream that made you happy. You think it's the film that makes you happy. You think it's the good meal that makes you happy. You think it's going out of your house to the cinema that's making you happy. real happiness is not conditional. It's unconditional. It's due to the fact that you're not doing the self-contraction anymore. So I've been practicing the release of the self-contraction for many years now. I feel the self-contraction, and then I realize I'm doing it, and I stop doing it. But how do we stop doing it? In fact, we cannot get rid of the self-contraction. That's why we take on religion and cultures and belief systems to console us. The self-contraction is often felt in the lower area, in what's known as the solar plexus. But it's the head. There's such a lot of tension going in the heads. Is your head peaceful? Do you have no chatter going on in your head? My head's very peaceful. In fact, there's no separation. See, people think there's the head and then there's the body. No, it's all one. So how do we love? How are we free of the self-contraction? By simply falling in love. You have to fall in love. Look at that picture there. Look at that oneness. That's just a one. Can you see oneness there, rather than lots of little separate things? The bird on the Father Christmas's shoulder, the bird with the apples, Father Christmas giving the fawn an apple, the rabbit, the birds, the snow. Father Christmas is aware of all that's going on. The open hand is always aware, but there's no reaction. Look at that. It's total love, total acceptance, and stillness. We could say that he feels cold, but he's oblivious of the coldness. In the open hand disposition, there is what might be called divine warmth. I remember a film about Gladys Aylward. She was a missionary, and she was taking children from one country to another country. And she wanted them to forget all of their problems, all their concerns, by simply singing happy songs. People say, oh, the problem's still there. No, it's the self-contraction. When there's no self-contraction, there is really no problems. But as soon as you do the self-contraction, then that problem arises again. It's like this. As soon as I clench my fist, the whiteness of the fingers return. But they're not there. The pain returns, but they're not there. I remember a friend saying he hated going home. You know, he'd go out and spend a lot of time out, enjoying friendship with friends and doing various things, but he hated returning home because a cloud descended upon him. It's just a self-contraction. So you go to a doctor and the doctor says, you've got this. Then you keep dwelling on what you've got. The body-mind is never going to be perfect. Just got to forget about it all. Don't dwell on it all. Don't dwell on the results of the self-contraction. And the only way not to do the self-contraction, literally, the only way is to fall in love. I am a God man. I love God because God is love. Not some fictional character up there. See, I mean, Father Christmas isn't real. I mean, Yes, I mean, he's not real. He's not the story book, Father Christmas, the one and only who delivers presents and gifts to every single person on earth within a short amount of time. No, we understand that's fictional. But Father Christmas is real in the sense that someone comes along and gives gifts. He can dress up like Father Christmas. But it's not a belief, it's an actuality. Father Christmas gives out gifts. It's an actual fact. We can all be Father Christmas. The giving of gifts can be an actuality. Scrooge contracted all his life, he was contracting. Scrooge from The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Then suddenly he had this vision. 3 spirits came to him and told him that the way he was behaving was not good. And then he had this revelation, and he suddenly became converted from this disposition to this disposition. He became a very happy person overnight. You see, in this disposition, there's no history. Just now, or 15 minutes ago, this hand was embracing a book. Then it embraced the face and the nose and the mouth, the trousers and the jumper. But that no longer is there. There's no history. The open hand is available right through the day to embrace. There's no history. There really is no history. Understand the self-contraction. Now, the thing is, we've had God-men appearing in the history of mankind for thousands of years. Moses was one. Muhammad, Jesus, Krishna, some names Buddha, some names you may not know, Vivekananda, Muktananda, Nityananda, a lot of Anandas. The word Ananda means love bliss. Indian tradition are full of gurus. And for me, Aditar Samraj was a great teacher. He's no longer physically alive. There he is on a sacramental occasion. He lived in that disposition of the open hand, minute by minute, by second by second. He never ever lived like a clenched fist. Jesus said, "Turn to me." So fall in love with the God-man. Just fall in love. And then you'll see everything as it should be. Because conditional existence has its own laws. If you spill some milk, the law is that it will wet the carpet. And if you leave it, it will start smelling. And eventually that bit of carpet may rot due to that spilling of milk. It's the law, conditional existence. If I fold this, the law is that there will be a crease. It's just as it is. If I tear it, then the law, conditional existence, the law is that there's going to be a slight sound. And there's going to be rough edges. And it requires some exertion, some strength. These are the laws of conditional existence. We can't get away from the laws of conditional existence. It's how it is. One thing reacts, when something causes a reaction. It's the law. Now, part of the law is we have to use the bathroom, which I need to go and use now. Otherwise, I could wet. No. But the open hand disposition the open hand never shies away from anything. It's only in the head. Self-contraction. How would you wish to live from now on? Now you know that the self-contraction is the root of all discontent, of all feeling separate, of all aloneness, of all fear, anxiety, doubt, discomfort, boredom. All of that is coming from the root of the self-contraction. Well, excuse me. Thank you for listening.